We got Anthony Ruggiano Jr., Gene Borrello. Thank you both for coming today.
My pleasure.
No problem, man.
Let me ask you guys this. How many Italians does it take to throw a guy off a cliff?
Just one.
None, officer. He slipped.
Yeah.
It's good to see you guys, man. Gene and I were driving around the city, Anthony, yesterday, and Gene goes, "What a fucking dump this place is."
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about it because I'm so used to the texture of LA. But Gene, speak on what you thought of just driving around. And we were in the nice part of town.
Right. I have a lot of people that, support me from California, a lot of fans. But, driving around in the state, I was in shock. I couldn't believe what it looks like right now. I thought I was in the movie fucking Apocalypse. Fucking zombie land or something. I don't know where the fuck we were. It made New York look like the fucking 5-star hotel. It was crazy.
Rouge, you're in Pompano, Florida, right?
Yes.
Gene's in Tampa. Do you guys love it down there? I mean...
Yeah, I'm down there now coming up on 10 years. Don't get me wrong, I miss New York. My dream life would be what they call a snowbird. So in Florida, we call them snowbirds. They live up in New York for the summer, and then they live in Florida for the winter. That would be my dream life. But yeah, I love Florida. I hate the winter. As far as what he just said about California, I see that too. But I also see the nice neighborhoods that are in California. My daughter loves it out here. She's begging me to move out here, but I do miss New York. I miss living in New York.
Yeah, you miss the pulse, the energy.
Listen, I went to Beverly Hills last night. That's nice.
Yeah.
All right?
Well,
that was nice.
That's like the Upper East Side.
Yeah, that was nice.
There's no place like New York. It's just, where are you going to get a slice of pizza at 3 o'clock in the morning? Or go eat Chinese food at 6 in the morning. Yeah.
He's right.
That's right. And what's funny, Rouge, is you went down to Florida hoping you'd hear that real pretty Southern accent, but you heard, how you doing?
Right, because where I live, they call where I live the sixth borough, because I live right between Fort Lauderdale and Boca, and it's all New Yorkers, all East, Northeast people.
Tampa's getting like that.
Yeah.
Tampa's getting like that too now.
Like, Gene, do you ever meet any Floridians in Tampa? Or?
So it's crazy. I'll sit at a table, right? I'll meet a whole bunch of new people, sit at a table. Everybody's from Philly, Jersey, Connecticut, everywhere but Florida. And then when you finally meet a Floridian, it's rare.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like
And
a native California.
All the good restaurants are all owned by people from up north.
Yeah.
All Italian guys from New York, Chicago, Boston, they have the best restaurants.
And besides you two fellas, do you ever bump into a couple Goombas from the neighborhood?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do all the time. Yeah. All the time.
I haven't ran into anybody. I haven't run into anybody, that I only ran into one person that was actually with my father, this guy Ronnie the Jew. He was a bookmaker, Ronnie Stone, and he was in a Metro piece, one of them phone stores, Metro, and I was going there with some girl that I know. And I heard this guy arguing with the guy behind the desk. And I said, this guy's voice sounds familiar, but he was all great. And when he turned around, there was this guy, Ronnie, who was actually my father's co-defendant on his federal case. And he just looked at me, and I just smiled at him, and he walked out of the store.
You told a story about Jojo Carrazzo's club with Bobby Glasses, Linda Gotti. Explain how that all went down. That was
a different Ronnie the Jew. That was this other guy, Ronnie the Jew. This guy Ronnie the Jew that I said in the phone, so he was actually Jewish. The other guy, Ronnie the Jew, was actually Italian, and that was like his nickname. So yeah, that was a homicide in the Shamrock Bar. This guy Frankie Gish had a beef there. It was on Jamaica Avenue, and he went to Jojo Carrazzo's club, and he hooked up with Bobby Glasses and this guy Ronnie the Jew, and they went back and they murdered two innocent people, the owner and one of his friends. which was not a good thing.
Well, he beat that in the 80s, then got retried for it on the big indictment in 2011.
First, Linda Gotti gave them up. Linda Gotti, Pete Gotti's daughter, was in there, and her boyfriend was one of the guys that got shot, or somebody she was dating, and she actually
testified.
Well, no, she didn't. She was later on. No, what happened? She gave them up at first. They went on the lam. Then they got arrested. Bobby got found not guilty. Then when he got indicted for a RICO,
they put the same charges on.
She was on the witness list, but she never testified. But then he got convicted.
But Rouge, wasn't Linda Gotti, Pete's daughter, schooled up on the game?
Well, evidently she wasn't, because what happened was after the murder, all the evidence, all the stuff that she gave to the cops disappeared, because there was a little corruption going on back then, and we were actually going to kill this kid Frankie Geese. I actually had to plead guilty to that murder conspiracy. We were going to kill him, and when he was supposed to meet me, he never showed up. His uncle showed up, so he ran away, and I never saw him again.
Lucky him.
Yeah.
Didn't the uncle pay off the debt to the mob?
The uncle paid, yeah. So he owed me and my brother. He owed me and my brother money. We were Shylock of money with him. That was the ruse, to get him to come meet us, because we didn't know any of the Shylock customers. So he was supposed to come meet me to tell me where the Shylock customers were, but his uncle showed up. And then his uncle says to me, the first was out his mouth, "What do you think, I'm going to let you fucking kill my nephew?" And I told him, "What are you kidding me? He's my friend."
I love that one. I would never do that to him.
Meanwhile, John
They're waiting.
Jeannie got him, went behind Linda with Dyda to shoot the poor guy in the head. I said, "I would never do that. He's my friend. What are you kidding me?"
Don't you feel like we're the best actors when it comes to that? I would never do anything like that. You got a hit squad right around the corner waiting to fucking put 100 bullets in.
"What do you want?" And I told him the situation about the money, and he goes, "All right, I'll send you the money and tell your father that from now on I'll take care of my nephew." And I said, "Fine." And then I never saw him, but he did get arrested 20 years later. And because what happened was, one of the murder victims' son actually became a U.S. Marshal.
Nice.
And he hunted Frankie Geese down and found him living in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale. He was working for the Sun Sentinel for a newspaper, and he was actually living with his mother. And they arrested him. But he got, so many years later, it was a state case, and he got found out guilty. And then he actually passed away. He got a heart attack.
How big was Geish's book, his Shylock book?
Well, that was his father. Frankie Geese Sr. was a big Shylock. That was with my father. Major, big. He had a big Shylock book, and he died.
Was he a made guy?
No. Frankie Geese was never made. My father never proposed to, but he was had a big Shylock book. And when he died, sort of this junior inherited it, but he was still with us.
What happened to Bobby Glasses?
Bobby Glasses got convicted of the murders and died in jail.
He did, and he actually shelved my friend right before he did it.
Yeah.
Got my friend shelved indefinitely.
Yeah.
You know, Rouge, last time you came through, we talked about the risk of dating mob daughters, right? And Gene mentioned your sister Francine was known as what?
The
Gene?
Black Widow.
Oh, God.
Listen, there's a lot of girls out there. You don't need to date wise guys. You know what it is? Especially, this is my theory. If you know the deal, like he knows the deal, I know the deal. I'm not going to date a wise guy's daughter. I'm not going to do it. There's no need for me to do that. You know what I mean? Even though my father was a wise guy, maybe like Neil Delacroix, she had a daughter named Tony.
Oh my God.
She was crazy about me.
Fuck that.
We would be out in a club, and it would be 4 a.m, and she would tell me, "Drive me home."
No.
I made someone come with me to drive her home because if I could, she got more people killed than anybody. They were killing guys every day over her.
Yeah, no.
I mean, why do that? Why go with a wise guy?
Genie boy, did you ever date a wise guy's daughter? Or?
So unfortunately, I did fool around with my old boss's daughter here and there.
Vinny Sarah's daughter?
No, Ronnie's,
Oh,
yeah.
Ronnie.
Yeah.
But that was just secretly, you know what I mean? And I told her I would take it to the grave. I don't give a fuck if you fucking put a million guns to my head, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that would have been a bad day for you, Gene.
Yeah.
When I was in jail, I call up Anthony, right? I used to call up at the end. So I call up Anthony. My son is a teenager, and he tells me, "Oh, I got a new girlfriend. I think you and Grandpa know her father." I go, "Who's her father?" He said, "Vic Musso."
Yeah.
I said, "Vic Musso." I said, "Don't ever
I remember
that girl again."
They went to the prom.
Yeah,
I mean, I went to the prom together.
And I made him stop seeing her.
I remember that.
Yeah, I made him stop seeing her.
Yeah.
Speaking of mob guys' daughters, Angel got on our comment boards, Angel Gotti, and said she never had a crush on you, Rouge.
Well, listen.
You're capping, man.
Listen, Angel Gotti, I always had she doesn't, for some reason, she's talking bad about me right now, but I don't have anything bad to say about her. I know he does. But She was great friends with my wife, Alice. She was great. She was good friends with me. She told my son she had a crush on me. I know she had a crush on me, but we were just friends. You know, we were good friends. I was friends with her son, husband, Louis. You know, I knew him since he was a little kid. I mean, I went to her wedding. We were always tight. Now, I know she's got a bug up her ass with me, but, you know, it's all good.
Gene, have you and Angel kind of come to terms, or are you guys still beefing on that?
I mean, yeah, she dropped the lawsuit. I mean, you know, all this, you know, stuff that happened. But, you know, like I said, how can you sue me for telling the truth? I grew up with her son. And, you know, the things that I said and certain things that I said, it's just the truth. I wasn't lying. She said, what started the whole beef was when I got violated, right, on my violation, she called up the jail and did some funny stuff to get them to come see me on some, like, a joke thing. So I found out it was them, and that's why, you know, I started messing with them. That's all it was, you know?
Right. You know, recently in the word on the curb is one of the Gemini twins is doing some crazy shit in jail. Can we talk about that or no?
He's coming out.
What do you mean coming out?
They released him on a parole board. We don't understand. I mean,
is that Anthony Senta or is that Patty Testa?
Anthony Senta. That was before my time, but I mean, my dad and them are from this. My dad was from his neighborhood exactly, and I could tell you that those are probably some of the most dangerous people in fucking the 5 boroughs.
He's under the old guidelines. See, today now, when you go away with the feds, now you got to do 75% of the time. There's no more parole board, but he been away for 32 years. So he's under the old guidelines. So he still had the right to go to a parole board. So they gave him a date.
Wait, that's how Gene Gotti and John Kinnigan got out.
Well, no, they maxed out. Yeah, but they
had 50 years though.
Yeah, but they maxed out. They did 30. But you still got to do the old law. You either do 2/3 of the time is the max out, or you get parole.
Right.
So Anthony has done 32 years for 10 murders. 10 murders. And now he's getting out. He got paroled. Whereas
Is it 10?
10, yeah. Now Coogan, the boss of the Westies, who also had a crime like him, they were all hooked up together. Roy DeMeo, the Westies, they were all together. He just got denied parole, and Anthony got parole. So who knows what's going on?
Right. It's, you know.
Why did the Gemini twins kill Roy DeMeo? Or did they?
This is what I understand. This is right from Sammy the Bull. Tell me this, because that's a good question, because I asked Sammy the Bull that question. And what happened was Paul Castellano put a hit out on all 3 of them, the Gemini twins and Roy DeMeo. He gave the hit to Frankie DeCicco, got the contract. Roy was dangerous. Frankie DeCicco, to get to Roy DeMeo, what he did was he sent for the Gemini twins, and he told them, listen, if you clip Roy DeMeo, I'll get you a pass on the contract that's on you. I'll make Paul give you a pass.
Yeah, but then he separated them in different families.
Yeah, right.
They all got separated.
So they killed Roy DeMeo, and then they separated them, and then they all got arrested anyway, and they all went to jail.
Paul wouldn't let them stay with the Gambinos. Lucchese's, Colombos, they went all over.
Yeah, but they both got straightened out.
Yeah,
and
then Gas Pipe put them away.
Yeah.
Does that deal really hold water if they say, look, we'll if you go knock this guy down?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it does hold water.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh yeah, there's got to be.
It has to be. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you don't feel it was like a double okie doke?
No, because Frankie DeCicco was a reputable guy. He's not gonna do that. You know, he was a man. He was a gangster. Frankie DeCicco. He ain't gonna do something like that.
Plus, he's giving them the heads up.
Yeah.
That you're supposed to die.
Yeah,
They could take off.
Yeah.
Right.
Or kill Frankie.
Or kill Frankie. Right.
And it's a rare moment to have both of you gentlemen in front of us. And I asked you this before, but I wanted to get Rouge's perspective. Why did you run Bonanno, Gino, when your cousin,
Right.
is a Gambino?
Right. His uncle was a wise guy, Fat Andy.
So what happened with that is this: when I was coming up, he was gone. So when he came home in 2004, he really was on parole. He really didn't want nothing to do with nothing. He was working in a tuxedo place, I remember. And then all of a sudden, he gets 6 months later, he gets locked up for a cold case murder. Now I'm on the fence because Al Trucchio, I used to hang out with Al, Mike Rock, and all these guys. They're Gambino guys. But they wanted to stick me in his father's old club, but Freddie Hart and all these guys, they're like dinosaurs. I'm like, I'm a 20-year-old kid.
Yeah.
The fuck were they doing there? So my best friend was Bobby Gialonzo. That's Vinny Asaro and Ronnie Gialonzo's nephew. And me and him were fucking tearing the street up. So I got into a beef with a guy named Phil Galena. Phil Galena paid Albanians to kill me. So the Albanians on the highway shot into the car, shot my friend through the neck, shot my other friend, and didn't get me. I went to Al and them and says, I'm killing this motherfucker. But Phil Galina's father was a wise guy with the Gambinos. He got deported in the pizza connection. So they were like, no, leave it alone. We don't want the street beef. So I went to Ronnie and them. They says, get that motherfucker. We don't care what you got to do. Get him. Long story short, he was hiding. I ended up spraying his house up a bunch of times, blowing his cars up, wouldn't stop with him. And ultimately, that's how I went with the Bonannos, because they wouldn't take my back. They kind of stuck with stuck with Phil Galino in. You know what I mean? Right. So it's kind of like a spit in my face. That's all it was.
Were you able to get back at the Albanians or no?
Actually, we ended up finding out who it was later on, because I knew the Albanians and they just didn't know it was us. He just pointed us out in a nightclub and says, I want you to pop these kids. The Albanian that sent them, he's on FBI's most wanted list right now. He's still on the run to this day. He said, Gene, I didn't know it was you. They paid us $10,000 to kill you.
Right.
So,
And Rouge, besides A-Light, what other interactions did you have with Albanians? Were you connected with some of the Albanians?
No, the Gambinos were connected with Albanians. I think, too, getting back to G.B. with the Bananas, if my father was alive, he would have never winded up where he winded up. I was in prison. My father died in 99. So, he went to the Bananas because, he just explained the story. But if I was home, he would have never went.
Right, and another thing, when he was out, you going with Caesar's crew, aren't you? Wasn't Caesar pulling you, Gambino?
No, Caesar wasn't straightened out yet when I got out in 04. Caesar got straightened out after I got out.
But I thought they were trying to put you in that circle.
Yeah, I was going to get straightened out.
With that circle, right? And then they says that you recognized, you were able to sit.
So what happened was, so me and Caesar both got proposed. I got proposed by Nicky Carrazza, and he got proposed by his brother Anthony. They were both captains.
Right.
And we were both, matter of fact, I met Caesar at his restaurant up in Jackson Heights, wherever the hell it was. And we were both going to get straightened out, and I got arrested for the murder.
Mm-hmm. You got pinched for Frankie's murder.
Right, for my brother-in-law's murder.
Which is, it was just hearsay he got pinched on. Yeah. You do know that.
Well, that was Peter Sakara.
There was no real evidence. Yeah, it was hard, right?
Then once I got pinched, my co-defendants were going to throw me under the bus.
Well, that was the plan.
Started snowballing there.
There was a fundraiser for him, right? I didn't really have to talk about this. There was a fundraiser we had for him to raise money. Well, this is how much scumbags they are. And I have to say this. So his son and all of us gave more money at 20 years old than his whole crew.
Yeah.
They gave Freddie Hart gave a $500 card, envelope. Are you kidding me?
It's just they took out. See, what happened was, I did a lot of time up to that point. I was Fat Andy's son. They just took me for granted, like, oh, he's never going to cooperate. He's just going to, bite the bullet, go to jail. It was just, they just took people they just took advantage of people.
And I'll tell you a great story. He was gone. He was in jail. So his father passes away, right? Now we're all at the funeral. Ronnie One-Arm's father died at the same time. So Ronnie One-Arm's father and Andy is being buried next to each other. Skinny Dom's in there, and Albert, his brother, hears that they're talking about his father's stuff right at the funeral. Who's getting what? Fucking Albert went right after him. Right after Skinny Dom, you motherfucker, without my father, you'd be nothing. There was a whole war in there. They wouldn't pay for Andy's funeral.
Yeah, but they wind up paying for it.
Ronnie One-Arm did.
Skinny Dom was actually the shooter in Frankie's murder, right?
Yeah.
He's the guy you gave the nod to. He went back into the tomato garden.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know what drives me nuts, Rouge, is you get these comments online. People go, oh, Anthony Ruggiano was never a made guy. But you were already proposed. You were sitting at the table, right? You just didn't do the finger prick and the card in the hand thing.
So this is what happened. In the 90s, I got proposed the first time by my father, okay? And I went to jail. I got proposed, and I got arrested in 95. They proposed me. I went to jail in 96. Before I went to jail, I was only supposed to do 2 years. Before I went to jail, Skinny Dom, as a matter of fact, I went to Cafe Liberty. They had a going-away party. He went outside. He says, as soon as you come home, we're going to straighten you out. So I go in. While I'm in, I get indicted by the feds in Florida with Nicky Carrazza, who was the acting boss of the Gambino family. Now, from doing 2 years, I wind up now with another 10.
10, yeah.
Now I'm doing 8 years and 3 months. While I'm in prison, my father dies in 99. He dies. They took everything. They fucked me over.
They glommed everything.
They glommed everything. They stopped giving my mother money.
The vendors.
They took the machines. They took my son's health insurance money. They took, when my father died, the day my father died.
Wait, Jenny, your mom wasn't even getting money no more.
Nothing. The day my father died, I called up my friend Carl, who was with my father, and he told me that they already sent for him to bring, because my father was getting money from the Teamsters in Kennedy Airport. And they sent for Carl to already bring him Andy's money. Like he wasn't even in the morgue. He wasn't even at the. His body was still in the refrigerator in the hotel, in the hospital. So anyway, so now my father dies. Nicky Carrazza, who was very close to my father, gets me transferred from Skinny Dom's crew to his crew, and now I'm getting close to coming home, and he proposes me again. They passed my name around. I meet with them. They gave me the rundown on who was the captain. I met with this guy, brother, who was a wise guy.
Ushida?
Nunzi, yeah.
Shida? Yeah, his son was my co-defendant.
Yeah. And this guy, Nunzi, and otherwise, this guy, Jimmy Boy, was a captain. I meet with them. They give me the rundown, because they're going to school you, who's captain, who got straightened out. About 2 months later, Lenny Di Maria sends for me. He's a captain, excuse me. He's a captain in the Gambino family. He tells me, okay, listen, your name went around, and everything's straightened out. You're going to get, you got the okay to go on sit-downs. You're recognized as a wise guy. You don't need anybody representing you anymore. We're just waiting to have the ceremony. It's going to be next week, next month, but we're waiting to have the ceremony. That was with Cesar Garino. And what happened was, a week later, I got arrested for the murder.
And if I could tell you a funny thing, how they had so much respect for him, and I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I beat up Nicky Carrazzo's nephew. So Nicky Carrazzo, at the time, was even higher. And at the time, I think he was the acting boss.
He was on the panel.
He was on the panel. So I ended up beating up the nephew. Nicky Carrazzo's nephew. I beat up his nephew. He's a little older than me. I beat him up all over the place. I had a situation. So I told Anthony, he just got out. Anthony calls him up, says, squash it. They didn't have to listen to that. They could have told him to go fuck yourself and come baseball bat me.
Yeah.
I beat up the nephew. That's a bad thing in front of people. I embarrassed them. So they must have had some kind of respect if they his father's been dead for 5 years now. They could have just said, no, we ain't respecting that. We're going to give him a beating. And they didn't.
Rouge, let me ask you this. If you did get your quote-unquote button, would they have still robbed the whole book from Fat Andy or no?
Well, that already happened when I was in prison. That was a done deal. Way after he died, they took everything. I mean, I had a guy, it got so bad with that, and that's the true face of the mob, how it was then. It wasn't like that when I was a kid. They're all out. So when my father died, I had a guy that used to bring me $500 a month. This guy, Eddie D'Agostino. He owned the after-hour clubs in a bar. He used to bring me $500 a month. He used to bring it to my wife, Alice, my first wife, Alice. Out of the $500 a month, $250 she used for her health insurance for her and my son, $100 for my son's expenses, and she would send me $100 for my commissary. When my father died, they sent for this guy, Eddie D. And they told him, from now on, you bring that $500 to us. She, who was a gangster, Alice was a gangster, she went to the club, Cafe Liberty, and started screaming at them. And they told her, things are bad. She goes, things are bad? He's in jail. Things are bad for you? And she called them all kinds of names. And, and that was the beginning of me, saying, what the fuck am I doing around these guys? But Nicky Carrazza knew about it. That's why he got me away from them.
Now, let me ask you this. Who would have made that call at that time to say, hey, intercept the envelope from Eddie D? And
it's Dom doing everything.
It was Skinny Dom?
It was Skinny
Dom. Because they knew Eddie was around us. So what they did was, when my father died, all our guys they took. And they knew who was giving us money, and all our guys they took and made them bring the money to them.
So that gave you a little extra resentment
His
about
father
Skinny
saved
Dom.
Skinny Dom's life. They were going to kill Skinny Dom when he was young over Frank Marty's son. I know the story.
Yeah, Frankie
They stabbed Frank Marty's son. They were going to kill Skinny Dom, Randy's brother, and he saved him. He saved his life. Everybody knows that story. It's crazy how shit happens.
It really is.
Water under the bridge.
Yeah, it's a sad thing, Rouge. There was no loyalty,
No more.
He couldn't even read or write. My grandfather used to take him to the DMV.
Yeah,
he used to have to take him to the DMV.
He's in
Literate. My grandpa used to have to take Skinny Dom.
My father's my uncle.
Yeah, he used to take him to the DMV because he fucking couldn't read or write.
Yeah, Rouge, break down how you and Gene are cousins too. His grandfather was your mother's kid brother, right?
Right. His grandfather was my Uncle Jr., who was probably one of my favorite uncles. His grandfather was a character.
Was he a made guy, Gene?
No.
He was a bus driver, but he was a criminal.
He got banned by Aunt Jenny because he got caught in hijacking, and his sister told his Fat Andy, not my brother.
So they didn't know my father was a wise guy because he allegedly worked on an A&P truck, right? So what happened was my Uncle Jr. was a gambler even at a young age, and he borrowed Shylock money off these guys. and they were waiting in front of my grandfather's house on Lincoln Avenue, and my grandfather came home from work, and these two guys got out of the car, and they threatened my grandfather and said, you know, your son owes us money. We're going to break his ass. We're going to break your ass. We want our money. And my grandfather got shook up, and my mother happened to be in the house at the time. She came to see me. I was a baby to come to see my grandmother. And my grandfather walked in the house, and he was all upset. And my mother goes, what's the matter? And he said, there's two guys outside waiting for Junior. They're going to beat him up. And my mother looked out the window, and she saw them in the car. She called up my father in the bar. And she said, listen, you better come to my mother's house. There's two guys outside waiting for Junior. So my father came, they parked his car up the block, and he's walking up the block, and these two guys see him. And they get out of the car, and they go, hey, Andy, what are you doing here, Pop? You know, hey, good to see you. What are you doing? He goes, what am I doing here? He goes, that's my father-in-law's house. You just threatened my father-in-law? What the? And we didn't know. We're sorry. And the wind-up was my Uncle Junior never had to pay them. Now my Uncle Junior, his grandfather knows his brother-in-law is a wise guy.
That's it.
Fat Andy's brother-in-law. He was taking money off everybody.
That's hilarious.
That was the end of it. And that's how they found out my father was a wise guy.
Who were those two guys collecting on that debt? Were they Gambino guys?
No, they were just
mob guys.
But they knew my men. They saw him. They jumped out of. Andy, what are you doing around here? He goes, what am I doing around here? He goes, that's my father-in-law's house, just sitting in front of.
That's a trip, man.
But he was a good guy. His uncle, his grandfather, he was a horse player.
Yeah,
I got him a job in an after-hour joint. He loved it. We gave him 2 Quaaludes one night. We knocked him out. He came in the bar one night. We used to hang out in the Spar Lenny's bar in the 70s when Quaaludes were out many, many years ago. And he comes in, he tells my brother, man, I got back pains. I can't sleep. So my brother said, here, take these. My brother gives him 2 Quaaludes, and he goes, what's this? My brother goes, don't worry, just take them. So he pops the 2 Quaaludes. He's out. We laid him out on the pool table. We put a flower in his hand. We had him laid out on the pool table. Then we had to take him home. So we get him up off the pool table, right? And now his grandmother, Fran, we bring him by my Aunt Fran's house, and we lay him out in the bed. He's out cold. 2 days later, he comes back to the bed. He goes, man, what did you just give me? I never slept that good in my life. My back didn't hurt.
He was hysterical, man. That's
hilarious.
He was with me the night I met David Bowie, his grandfather. His grandfather was with me the night I hung out with David Bowie.
Didn't you say he didn't even know who Bowie was?
Never knew who he was. He said, who's this English guy? I said, that's David Bowie. He said, really? He started telling him dirty jokes. He had David Bowie, like hysterical laughing.
That's hilarious. Gene, did you ever hang out with some celebs, like rappers and like...
Yeah, actually, I was friendly with a few of them, but not like on an everyday basis. But yeah, I was friendly with a couple of rappers and stuff like that. Yeah.
You talk a little bit about the modern day mob. You know, Gene was really the last guy to pass through. What kind of communication were you receiving from the streets when you were in prison about Genie Boy?
That he was wild. That's what listen, when I went away, he was 12.
Right.
My son was 13. When I came out, he was a gangster. He was a little kid when I went away. The first time I saw him when I got out of jail was I went to this Angela's salon, was on Crosby Boulevard. I went to get a haircut and a manicure, and he's in there getting his eyebrows done and his nails done. And, he paid for me for my stuff to get done. And that was the first time I saw him. But I heard stories, like what he was doing, running around in the streets.
Why didn't Anthony III, your son, Rouge, why didn't he go into the mob? Did you keep him away from that whole...
When he was a kid and he started getting in trouble and a couple of other kids started...
His mother.
Yeah,
Alice was very strict.
Right. But what happened was, a couple of his friends got locked up for selling pills. I don't know if you remember that. Mm-hmm. So I sent for him to come see me in prison. And he's sitting in prison, and he visited me, I said, what happened? And he tells me the story, and he goes, oh yeah, you don't understand. One of my friends was on Rikers Island. They took his sneakers. So I said, they took his sneakers. I said, so in other words, he's a punk, your friend, right? He goes, no, what do you mean? What was he supposed to do?
What?
I said, I was on Rikers Island. Nobody ever took my sneakers. I said, this is what we're going to do. I told him, I said, you could get in trouble. You could get arrested. You could do whatever you want. But remember, I'm not helping you. I'm making sure your mother don't help you. I'm making sure no lawyers take your case. No bondsmen bail you out. He goes, well, what am I supposed to do if I get arrested and I'm on Rikers Island? I said, this is what you got to do. Get magazines, tape them around your waist, and get a shank. I told him, and he looked at me like I was crazy. And
Alice wasn't having it
and
either.
Alice wasn't having it either. And I told him, I'm not going to make the same mistakes with you like my father made with me.
Yeah.
It ain't happening. It ain't happening.
His mom, Alice, let me tell you, I used to sleep by the house all the time. She's not having it. Anthony, get the fuck in that room.
His mother was
Yeah.
family. His mother's uncle was Happy Mayoni. He was a Murder Incorporated.
Yeah.
She's a Mayoni. Her grandfather was a wise guy.
Yeah.
Her uncles were all bookmakers and
You're talking about Alice.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So she knew the deal. She knew I was. She wasn't having it. So I have two good kids because they, thank God, had two good mothers.
Right.
Because I was in jail.
But Rouge, Alice didn't want Anthony hanging out with Gene, right?
No, she didn't care about
she
him.
didn't care,
She just didn't want him committing
in trouble.
crimes.
She when Anthony used to sleep on my house, I'll tell you a great story. She always thought we were up to no good. She would literally come by the block and look and see what we're doing. That's how Alice was. She wasn't playing.
Plus, Vinny and them knew he was Fat Andy's grandson, so he wasn't gonna run around like Gene. You know what I mean? Like, even though Gene was my father's nephew, it was different. He was the grandson,
Right.
So they were, that was like, listen, my son went to get his first tattoo. Wait, so he goes to the tattoo joint.
We got it together, me.
Right, yeah, but first, he went,
Yeah.
and the guy, he's picked out the tattoo, and the guy asked him his name. He told him his name. The guy said, fuck, I ain't fucking tattooing you.
Kubo.
Yeah. He goes, your grandfather and your father will kill me.
Yeah.
He goes, you better come back here with your
Permission,
mother.
yeah.
And so my wife, Alice, had to go with him to okay the tattoo.
Yeah, we got matching tattoos
So
together.
it's comedy to see how you were hiding your tattoo from your pops.
Yeah, so my tattoo I got when they were illegal, I got a rose on my arm and I hid it because my father hated tattoos. And I hear my mother one day telling my father, you better check his arms. He must be taking dope. He's sleeping with long sleeve shirts on. So my father creeps in the room and he lifts up my sleeve and he sees the tattoo. And he goes back out and he tells her, he got a tattoo. Right, so now I get up and I walk in the kitchen and he jumps up and he rips off. He had like a robe on his head and he rips it off and he goes, you see any tattoos on me, you stupid fuck? He goes, all that is a big fingerprint, right? And he's carrying on, but now it's too late. 20 years later, I'm at a funeral. And a guy walks up to me and he says to me, you got a rose tattoo on your right arm? So I goes, how the fuck do you know? I told him. He goes, because I'm the guy, I didn't recognize it, because I'm the guy that put it there. He goes, if I would have known that you were Fat Andy's son, they were looking all over the neighborhood to find who tattooed you, that they were going to kill me because of you. He goes, I was scared. I had to stop giving out tattoos.
Rouge, today's a special day. Today marks your 35 years of sobriety. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And it's been a tough road, huh?
Well, I mean, not the whole thing. I mean, listen, I made it tough. You know what I mean? I made it tougher than it needed to be, with getting arrested, going to jail. But, it was the best decision I ever made, going into the treatment center, getting clean. And I'm clean 35 years today. I didn't do it alone. I had a lot of help along the way. I mean, Tony Lee paid for me to go to treatment. And when I got out of treatment, John Gotti helped me. He bought me a car. He gave me some money. I had a lot of help along the way. But, I made a commitment not to use no more, and that's what changed my life. Yeah, so I had some dark years, and I had some really good years.
And, Gene, you and I have talked about mental issues, and you've openly admitted to the world that you have ADHD, you have maybe
ADD, yeah,
ADD.
bad. Yeah.
Do you have impulse control issues?
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah.
But I will tell, our audience this, you're a gym rat.
Yeah.
You don't do blow.
No.
You don't drink.
Oh, God forbid. Yeah.
God.
God forbid.
Well, the irony is
I have a heart attack.
Can't stay
Can't
still
sit
now.
still. Oh my God.
Gene,
I'm shocked he's still sitting in
Oh
his chair.
shit. Oh my God.
Gene, the irony is maybe if you did blow, you'd calm down.
I have a heart attack, I think. I don't know. I'm too jittery. I don't know.
Right.
It wouldn't work out.
It was funny. I called Rouge. I said, man, fucking Gene Borrello, he's a firecracker. This guy's
Yeah.
going to fucking snap. We're driving around the city. A guy cuts us off. Gene wants to kill the fucking guy.
I have a short fuse, and I inherited that from my dad. I really did. I talk about like DNA. He was a fucking nut too.
Was
and
he
I
a
just
hot-headed
inherited-
guy?
Oh God, was he?
It
Yeah.
must be the Sicilian blood, right, Rouge?
It's who knows what blood, but I know it's fucking boiling. I know that.
But, the issues he has runs in our family, especially in my mother's family, because my nephew has the same thing he has. So it's all hereditary stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, Rouge,
I'm the only one that don't have any of it.
Your brother was a tough motherfucker.
was Albert a hothead back in the
Not
day?
really a hothead. He was very dangerous with his hands.
Dangerous.
Dangerous with his hands. We were different. I had more respect for like the mob than him. Like he was in it, but I respected it more. Like I respected the structure of it more.
They ran 88th Street Park.
Yeah, we had, yeah. We had our park. We were 88th Street boys. We had the park. Across from my house. And we had, we were serious. We were serious kids.
What's your advice to, I know you always say, Gene, stay out of trouble, this, that, and the third, but what's your advice for him? Because you counsel other men, right?
Yeah, you just got to let things go, man. You got to just let it go over your head,
Yeah, don't use weapons. Just hit him with a fist, right?
It's like, listen, people go after us now. Because they just have nothing else to say.
Right. Oh, well, this for fakes, right?
Yeah. People call me names that hit, and I don't care no more. When I first got into this YouTube stuff, and I would hear another YouTuber guy calling me a name or calling me a liar or a phony, I got crazy. I would call up my manager and this fucking guy, if I can get my fucking hands on him, and but it's meaningless. You know what I mean? So my theory now is, listen, if you need to talk bad about me to earn a living, talk bad about me. I don't care.
Gene, do you take these shots at you personal, the rat emojis, the fucking woman beater comments?
I mean, well, I just honestly, because like people know I'm naturally funny, so I go and I break balls, so I go back at them and I get them more mad. So I love when someone messes with me and then I say things and they're more mad than them because I just know how to get under someone's skin.
Listen, those are slang words. Yeah. I cooperated. Listen, I broke the cardinal rule. Absolutely. I have to live with that. And it haunts me to this day. My father was Fat Andy. He was a gangster, and he hated cooperators. I'm so guilt-ridden over my relationship with him that I told my kids so I have 3 graves. I own 3 plots, right? So I have the plot my father's in. I have his great-grandmother and grandfather's plot, my Uncle Junior's parents, my grandparents' plot and I also have my father's family, my other grandparents' plot. I told my kids when I die to bury me with my Ruggiano grandparents because I don't want to be buried with my father.
Because he'd roll over in his grave.
He's probably mad at me. Yeah,
he'd be rolling in his grave.
So, but when people call me names, listen, I cooperated. Those are just slang words: rat, stool pigeon. And I would feel the same way they felt if I was in the street.
You know what though? They could say that, but when you got bosses cooperating, what the fuck are we standing up for? Joe Messina, these guys ratting, these are the guys we look up to. So you're gonna need to tell me we gotta stand up, take life, and the guys that are giving the fucking orders are cooperating. You want us to stand up? Yeah. Fuck out of that bullshit. And then taking all the money and abusing us, stoling your wives. Get the fuck. There's no loyalty,
Gene, when
bro.
you see the rat emojis, does that bother you?
It don't, because you want to know why? And I'm not making like I'm the toughest guy in the world. I lost fights, I won them. I was living in my old neighborhood. I was in the gym. I used to see people. You know what they do? Look, how you doing?
Yeah, make out you don't.
Come on, bro. No one's gonna know if we have to get into a fight. You know what I mean? Come on, man. Like, don't give me. It's all bullshit. It's all this. Yeah. It's all this.
Right. And I feel like I can't speak. I only can speak for myself. I know one thing. I cooperated, but I know for a fact that anybody that really knows me, if my father was alive or Tony Lee was alive, I would have never, ever cooperated. Never. I would have never, ever cooperated. Maybe I would be free. Maybe I'd be doing life. But I would have never cooperated. And when I did cooperate, that was the hardest, toughest decision I made. For a year, one whole year, I pick up the phone and hang it up. I pick up the phone and hang it up until a knockaround guy who took his life in his hands by telling me, you need to call the government. I said, how the fuck could you talk to me like that? I said, I can't, because if I was in a different frame of mind, I would have told somebody, this guy wants me to cooperate. They would have wanted to kill this guy.
Right.
And then the lawyer called me and told me that they're going to throw me under the bus. You need to call the government. Only then did I tell my wife to call the FBI. I still couldn't call them. I made her call them, and then they came and see me.
You were out on a big bail, too, weren't you?
$3 million
bail. You couldn't leave the house, though.
I was on the house. I had a monitor. Yeah. I had to dig around my thing for a year.
Rouge, are you still on paper handcuffs?
Done.
You're done.
I'm
but
done.
Gene, you're on paper handcuffs.
I'm done.
Oh, you're
I just
done?
finished it.
Even with the last little go-around?
That's it. That's termination.
Tell us about the last go-around, Gene.
So the last go-around, I had the greatest judge in the country, Judge Block. They were trying to give me like 60 months, 3 years, everything. He just wouldn't do it. He actually felt like I had 15 counts, 15 charges. He threw away mostly all of them. All the charges with my ex-girlfriend, he threw them away. He knew they were all bullshit. He goes, I'm giving him 6 months for this, 45 days for this concurrent termination. I had a prosecutor come down from Washington. I used to deal with him, Keith Edelman. He hated me for some reason.
Edelman hated you.
He flew down from D.C. You know what I'm telling you? He was working. He's actually one of Trump's prosecutors now. He's a good prosecutor, but he hated me. I don't know, for so much reasons that when I was in the courtroom, Nancy comes up to me in the back and goes, Keith Edelman's here. I says, why would he be here? He goes, oh, he just happened to be in the building. Wait, yeah, right. On the day of my sentencing, he came in and asked for my sentencing to be consecutive. And my lawyer's flipping out. Nancy Inez, who I love, she's like family. She goes, that's not what we agreed to. We agreed that it would be concurrent, whatever he asked for. Not only did Judge Block go against the year they wanted, he goes, I'm not giving him a year. I'm running concurrent. I'm giving him 40 days concurrent with termination. So he just looked out for me totally, man.
So what did you get charged with this last go-around?
Leaving the state without permission. Somebody claimed that I went into a bar and threatened them with a weapon, which if that was true, I would have got 10 years. You know, me with a gun in Florida, that'd be all over the news, cameras. It was a lie. I went in there and I did threaten the guy, but into a fight. They tried to make it into like I pulled the gun out and all of that. The Judge Block wasn't buying it. So they gave me that. And they gave me, I also, I'm not going to lie, the cops went to go pull me over and I didn't stop. That's
that's a minor thing.
I didn't know they were pulling me over. I told Judge Block, I says, I didn't know they were pulling me over. He was just like, oh, really? I said, I didn't know. I just, kept going. And then I copped out to that as well.
So how much time did you do, Gene?
I did 8 months for that violation.
And where'd you do it?
MDC Brooklyn.
MDC Brooklyn. And when you touched down there, did you see some of the fellas there or what?
Yeah, I seen Teddy Persico was upstairs. He was on a case. I didn't run into him. He was in the building.
Weren't you slammed down with the crypto creep?
Yeah, I was with Sam Bankman. Yeah, I was with Fetty Wap. I was with the Attorney General of Mexico. I was with the President of Honduras.
What do you mean, the President of Honduras?
The fucking President of Honduras. Yeah, he was on a 100 tons of kilos case. Yeah. Yeah.
What was the crypto creep like?
He was actually, he was a friendly guy. He was just weird, and he was looking on the air. He didn't understand how much time he was really facing, you know what I mean? And
define weird. Was he socially awkward?
Yeah, very socially awkward, and just didn't fit in, you know what I mean?
But you looked after him, right?
It was basically I was trying to tell him the place was safe. Other guys were getting mad at me for telling him the place was safe. I was talking to Sam Bankman, and the kid pulled us both over, and he said in front of Sam, to me, I don't want you fucking talking to him no more. Stay away from him. I said, who the fuck you talking to? And he swung at me. I hit him with hot coffee, and then I started getting him. And he's like, stop, stop, stop. I says, no, there's no stop. And then when they broke us up, I kept going after him. And then they put me in the hole with him, and they wrote me up as a 224. That's an assault. That's not a fucking ticket. That means they're trying to give me an assault.
Yeah. So it's like a DA referral.
A federal referral, they're called. So it gets kicked out to the FBI. I'm sick. I'm on day-for-day max out. I'm going home in fucking a month. So the cops all like me now. The cop came to see me in the middle of the night, and he goes, Borrello, he goes, this isn't a fucking ticket. This is a fucking federal referral. He goes, don't worry. They should kick it back because they're fucking stabbing each other in the building all day. You know what I'm saying? They're not worried about your assault. They're killing each other right now in the building. So 3 weeks later, they kicked it back, and I went home.
Wow.
I got lucky, yeah.
What is Sam Bankman looking at in terms of time all day?
They recommended 115 years.
Oh, so he's washed out.
But he just got a break. They just dismissed the case on him. They just
but he's already done with the first case. He's done. They're gonna fry him on the first.
They're gonna get him somewhere.
Oh, he's
I would have
fried.
never gave the guy no money just by looking at him. I wouldn't have gave him no money. I don't believe how much money this guy got his hands on.
Look.
And his girlfriend. Imagine me having a meeting with these two funny-looking people. I wouldn't have gave them 10 cents. Just
the best is, me and my friend Magic, he was my good friend. He was a huge drug dealer out of Harlem. I mean, he had big money, so he's like a flashy guy, had all nice things, and that's our little section. So Sam's in our section talking, and Magic goes, so you had all this money. You had to have some jewelry. What were you wearing? He goes, an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
I go, what kind of car you driving? He goes, a Toyota Camry.
Yeah.
He goes, what kind of clothes you wearing? He goes, regular basketball shorts.
Yeah, sure,
Wait. All of a sudden, my friend goes, so what the fuck did you take the money for? You want to look at it? Like, what were you doing?
I mean, that's why the mob was so great, because we have a lot of common sense. And my common sense would have been, if I would have met with them, I'm not giving these two funny-looking motherfuckers any money. You know what I mean? Like, just common sense, I wouldn't have gave them any money.
But Gene, no one's been able to explain crypto to me. I don't even understand.
It's like talking Chinese to me. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't know.
I
When
mean-
he was telling me what he was doing. He makes $1 million a day. He's doing this. I don't know what the fuck.
I mean, now people got debit cards for crypto. They could take money out on it.
But Rouge, do you even understand it?
no idea.
I
What do you
have no
mean you
idea.
mine the money? I don't.
I don't know.
I don't know. My son's into all that stuff. My son, my nephew, I don't know what the hell.
I like cash. Give me
I'm old
cash.
school. Listen, I was in the hotel yesterday. I went to give the guy I had to give the desk $40. So I took out 220s. They said, no, we don't take cash.
We don't take cash. Can you believe that?
What do you mean you don't take cash? They don't. No, I took out. The guy went like this. Oh no, we don't take cash. Like I was giving him poison.
Since when is cash a dirty word, Gene?
You got me. You can give me all the cash you want. I'll take it.
I'll take it.
30 and all. Let's bring it on over.
Gene, do you think this is like a control mechanism? They want to tighten that digital noose around our
Yeah,
neck?
they want to do away with money completely. That's what they want. They want money gone.
Listen, once they get rid of money, it's over for us. Then they control everything. Once everything goes digital, if they don't like you, they just hit a button. You can't get nothing.
That's
what do you
it.
do? You're finished.
They turn off your Uber, your
Finished.
banking,
That's
your whole
it.
your
finished.
internet.
That's
Done.
it. Yep.
You're done.
So we've got a noose around our neck, is what you guys are telling me.
I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime, but maybe in his lifetime or maybe in your lifetime. But I don't think. But eventually, that's what's going to happen. My daughter worked in Starbucks. They don't take cash. How do you not take cash from the Starbucks?
How do we have an AI robot like a military guy right now, running around shooting shit like he has his own brain? Tell me that. All right, it's a lot of crazy shit going on right now.
It's getting weird, stranger and stranger every day.
I'm telling you,
right?
it's getting
So much
weird.
technology. Today, you want to be a bookmaker, you get a website. When I was a kid, you know what we had to do to be a bookmaker? When my father had sports offices, we had to rent apartments, we had to hire clerks, we had to get phones, we had to get special paper, we had to pay for the lines, we had to pay a service to give us the lines out of Vegas. Now today,
I started like that as well.
All you do now today is get a website. And not only that, everything's legal. Almost everything I went to jail for is legal. I went to jail. I have my indictment in RICO bookmaking. Now I have an app on my phone that I could bet everything's legal. I went to jail for numbers, policy. Now there's a lotto machine in every number hole. It's legal. Marijuana. My brother had a major marijuana business. My friends all went to jail for selling marijuana. It's legal. Prostitution. We were shaking down bordellos. Legal. Everything's everything. The government's running the show.
Gene, how's the mob gonna make money now?
But you know how they justified everything he just said? It's because, like, all right, so they're bookmaking. If you don't pay us, there's violence. So that's how they justify it. You know what I'm trying to say? But everything's legal now, but their justification is like, oh, well, they hurt people if you don't pay.
They're taking everybody's money.
Yeah.
People that never gambled before gambling.
Right.
People that never gambled, didn't know what a bookmaker was. People out in the Midwest, dokey people in the Midwest now that never even saw an Italian bookmaker now are betting on an app.
Bet on an app.
Betting their
19-team parlays for $3, getting back 80,000.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're
Got a
making
better
millions.
chance of fucking seeing
I
aliens.
only bet $5. I only bet $5 on 10 teams. Yeah, you and a million other people. So they made $5 million.
Maybe five. No one's winning that.
No, but how you gonna win? How you gonna pick 10 winners?
Gene,
It's
who?
only for $5 I could win
Yeah, right.
5,000.
It's like hitting the Mega Millions. Any bookmaker will tell you to hit one team is hard. A 3-team. Listen, we love parlay guys. As a book, I took action for a while. And Ronnie G used to tell me, Gene, we don't want the straight betting guy. We want the parlay
Yeah, of
guy.
course.
Because they're never going to win. You know what I mean?
When
They
I
never.
was a kid and I first started betting with a bookmaker, I started gambling before I was a bookmaker. I started betting with a bookmaker when I was 16. My father found out that me and my friend Larry, his father had a book. We were betting with a bookmaker. My father sat me down in the kitchen and he said, I want to ask you a question. He goes, so back then Cadillacs were the rage, right? This is the 70s. He says to me, who drives the Cadillacs and who drives the ship boxes? I go, what? He goes, remember one thing, the bookmakers drive the Cadillacs and the gamblers drive the ship boxes, he told me. So now decide which one you want to drive.
That's great, man. Gene, you've been to L.A., New York, Miami, Tampa. Who has the most pretty women?
Tampa.
The
Rouge?
prettiest woman? There's pretty women all over.
I love blondes.
I know. There's beautiful women out. I think L.A. has the most. I think I run into gorgeous women everywhere I go out here.
You met a few cuties at the club. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Now-
see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a nice one now. I'm talking to her in New York. We'll see what happens.
Is she
It's
Italian,
funny because
Rouge?
all the girls I've been hooking up with, none of them live in Florida, where I live. You know what I mean? Who lives in New York? Who lived in Milwaukee? Who lived in out here in California? Nobody from where I'm at. But now I'm talking to a nice girl that's lives in New York.
Is she Italian, Rouge?
No.
I haven't dated an Italian girl in a long time.
Yeah, Borrello loves these blue-eyed devils, man.
Yeah,
That's his
that's
trip.
what they are.
He was out with gorgeous girls. They just get him in a lot of trouble. That's,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
all-
Borrello, are you a lightning rod for the crazy ones, or what?
Yeah, the hotter they are,
God,
the more crazy
right.
they are.
God forbid we picked a girl with her own condo and everything set up. We
Even those are crazy. You mean I got one of those right now. They're still wild. Yeah, don't worry.
Rouge, back in the day, you were going through women left and right.
Yeah, no. You know, you got to understand. For some women, they were drawn to us. I never had an issue with women. I was a big womanizer. You know, unfortunately, no, I never had an issue. I always, we had a lot of money. We had we had carte blanche. I mean, listen, when I was a kid, I'm 20, 19, 21. I go to a bar, right? And there's a barmaid there that's 28, 29, gorgeous, right? Older than me, gorgeous, right? I would go in, I had money. I leave them $20 tips. $20 tip in 1972 was a lot of money.
It was like a C note
Now
today.
Now I meet this gorgeous girl, and I would say to her, "What are you doing Friday night?" I don't know why. I said, "You want to go to the Copa?" "You can't get into the Copa." I said, "Do you want to go to the Copacabana Friday night?" She goes, "You could get into the Copa." I said, "Do you want to go?" "Yeah, all right." I said, "All right, meet me here Friday at 8 o'clock to the Copa." Never missed.
Rouge, tell me you walked her through the kitchen too.
Right through the kitchen.
Wasn't your dad the
Not
only
all
guy
the
to fight
time.
in there?
He had a fight in the stairwell. Yeah.
He's like the only wise guys didn't get killed the next day for it, right?
He got in trouble. Carlo Gambino didn't like it. He got jumped. Really, what happened was, so the Copa downstairs was the showroom, and upstairs was the lounge. It was a big lounge, and this guy Larry Suzamil that was hanging out. My father was drunk, and he pinched a girl's ass, and the girl happened to be this wise guy Philly Brush's girlfriend, and they were all there. Philly Brush was there with his crew. So my father felt something was going to jump off, so he made, Freddie Hart was there with a couple of guys, and he made all his friends leave.
They didn't want them to die.
Right, he made them all leave because he didn't want them
You
to
got
get in
killed the
trouble.
next day if you fought in there.
Yeah, so he left, so he made them all leave, and then he was walking down the steps, and they jumped him on the steps, and he started fighting with them on the steps. And then they had a big sit down with Carlo Gambino and everybody, and he got reprimanded, my father, but he didn't get killed.
But the rule was you would die.
You can't fight.
Yeah, you can't
Five
fight in there.
horses on the Copa,
Yeah,
So Rouge, to touch on what Genie Boy just said, if you fought at the Copa,
you were gone.
you get killed.
Actually, my father
That's a
made
rule.
his friends leave because they weren't wise guys. So what happened was he figured they would make one of them exempt. Like Larry, they might have told my father, "You got to clip Larry," because Larry's the guy that pinched the girl's ass. So to avoid all that, my father made them all leave. And then my father was walking down the stairs, and they jumped my father, and they made out. But see, they made out. They didn't know my father was a wise guy, but they made out. Basically, my father made out. He didn't know, and they made out. They didn't know, but they all, because that was the deal. I would have never done that if I knew who you were.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that. You know, that was like, yeah. So there was a big sit down, and my father got reprimanded and a whole bunch of shit. But yeah, I would go in just like in Goodfellas. It all depended on who was appearing there. You know, if like a big star was appearing, like a Bobby Darin or a Tom Jones.
Dean Martin.
Well, that was before my time. I never saw Dean Martin there, but you would have to go in through the basement, up through the kitchen. But if there was like just a regular person there that wasn't a big world-renowned star, you go in through the front door.
Right. Now-
Like Don Wrinkles, I saw there. I saw so many shows there. Bobby Darin, I saw Jimmy Vale.
What about Frankie Avalon?
Frankie Avalon, I saw there. I saw James Brown there one night. That was crazy. That was crazy.
Crazy.
Crazy. Right. And I saw James Brown there one night. I saw everybody. I saw so many shows there.
Rouge, what was harder to get into, Rails or Copa?
For mob guys, it was not hard at all. I mean, for the public, probably Rayos.
Yeah, I heard you can't.
Yeah, because
there's no
Rayos, you gotta
tables.
buy a table.
Right.
So he has to buy a table. and
Didn't
then-
somebody get shot over a table in there?
Yeah, it's always been. But in Rayos, you go in there, there's either celebrities in there, politicians, or wise guys.
Right.
Gene, did you ever eat at Rails?
No, I
Yeah.
never went over there. No.
Yeah. I heard each family had a table there, right?
Yeah. My son ate there with Michael Melnish, the guy from the from Purple Gang that got murdered.
My friend killed him.
Yeah, the last mob murder. And my son, I ate in there many years ago with my father. You know, he used to eat in there a lot. Roberto Duran used to eat in there a lot.
Kidding.
When he was in New York, he used to go there all the time.
That's a star-striking moment, yeah, to see Duran. Now, Gene, did you ever want to go to Rails, or it just wasn't on your...
Ronnie was more of a Peter Luger guy, so I was always in Peter Luger's. He loved the fucking Peter Luger's. So.
You know, Rails is a good restaurant, but there's so many good restaurants in Manhattan. It's more of a chic thing to do. Go to Rails, you got to buy a table, you know.
Gene, what was your favorite steakhouse in New York?
I love Smith & Lewinsky's. If you ever ate that, I don't know, it's really phenomenal.
What about you, Rouge? What would you say?
It wasn't Sparks, that's for sure.
Right. I don't think you were allowed to go to Sparks.
My favorite
Rouge.
was Peter Luger's in Williamsburg.
It was the best.
I think it's just, I've been eating there since I'm a kid. My father loved it there. We were there once a week, twice a week. I was just there a couple of months ago with my son for lunch.
They got one in Long Island now.
Yeah, but that's not the same. I ate in that one too. The one in Williamsburg is the best.
Now, Gene, you've got a lot of media you're doing out here on this run.
Mm-hmm.
And can we talk about one of the big shows you might be going on?
Yeah, so hopefully I might be going on with Mike Francis. I mean, that's great. That was it's big news to me, you know. He actually wants me on his show, so I'm happy about it, man.
That's huge.
Yeah. It's big.
And I could second that because I spoke to Michael about it.
Yeah.
So
you had to sit down for him? Yeah.
No, I didn't have a sit down, but well, it's so funny because about a year ago, he was bad-mouthing Michael Francis, and Michael shoots me a text one day. He goes, "Hey, someone told me this kid Gene's your cousin." So I said, "Yeah, he's my cousin." You know, so he laughed. You know, he goes, "All right." You know, he said, "Someone just told me because you know he's bad-mouthing me." I said, "Yeah, don't mind him." I said, "He's a little crazy."
But Gene, I remember that situation. But you also respected Michael.
I talked good about him on your show.
Yeah,
You did.
And Michael likes the fact what he did with his daughter, Julia, that he reached out to his daughter.
Yeah.
Michael liked that. I think that's what Michael.
Seeing that, it's just YouTube stuff, you know what I mean?
And Michael's under attack too now. Even, you know, listen, Michael's a class act. He's number one in this. He's number one. He started all this. Him and Johnny A. had the first really podcast.
Mafia podcast.
But Michael Francis opened the door for us.
Right.
Even for Sammy.
The interviews.
And people are going after him. The same people that go after him and me are going after Michael.
Same thing.
Yeah. So, you know, I was a counselor in a treatment center. Doing this wasn't even a thought in my mind. First of all, I didn't know nothing about it. And one day my phone rings and it's this guy Robert, and he tells me, "Listen, Johnny Ali's trying to get in touch with you." I said, "He wants to get in touch with me for what?" He goes, "I don't know." He said, "He needs to talk to you." Could I give him your number? I said, "Yeah, of course, give him my number. I know him all his life." So he gives me him. So the next thing I know, John's calling me. He goes, "Listen, I'm doing this show, Narco Wars, the mob, and the guy keeps hearing about you and your father. They want to talk to you." So I said, "Are they going to pay me?" So he said, "Yeah." So I said, "All right, tell them to call me." So this guy from London, Max Stern, called me, and we had a conversation. And he said, "Listen, I want you in my show."
Yep.
So I sat down with my family because I had to reveal myself. Nobody knew who I was. I was living underneath an assumed name. Only one person knew who I really was. So I sat down with my family, and I decided to do it. And I revealed myself. And then I went on his show, his podcast, and everything started rolling. Then I met Pasquale, who used to be their manager. Now he's mine. And I met.
Yeah, shout out to Pasquale. Now you're on the #1 Netflix show, Get Gotti. And you nailed it, man. You hit it out the park. You're the central focus of the whole show. And by the way, that was so well done, Rouge. The way they edited it, what was the story? How'd you get clicked up with them?
So this company, Raw Production, who I give all the credit to, they did Fear City, the first Fear City, which was a hit also. So what happened was they were interviewing people to do Fear City 2. So they got my name through the guy that does Costa Nostra News.
Yeah.
They reached out to this guy that does Costa Nostra, and he gave them my name. So they interviewed me to do Fear City 2.
Ed Scott.
Yeah, right. So now they interview me and they take me on to do Fear City 2.
So, Gene, word on the curb is they're going to do a television episodic series about your life, about the book, right?
Right.
Can you speak on that, or is it too soon?
Absolutely. So what happened was I had this guy Matt had reached out to me like a long time ago, and he always kept telling me, he goes, Gene, your story's unique, you're younger, and you know, it's different. You know, it's not about the old school, you got the new school stuff. And he goes, you know, he kept pushing on it. And then he came out with this podcast thing called Money, Loyalty, Legacy. That's his thing. That's his company, right? That's what's backing us right now, getting the fundings and everything. And he kept telling me, he kept going, I'm telling you, your shit could be a TV show. I'm telling you, it could be a movie, something. We got to try. So he has a lot of pull. Now, mind you, he's Mark Wahlberg's stunt double. He's Jason Statham's stunt double. He from Tommy from Ghost, that's his best friend, stunt double. So this guy has a lot of pull. He's in Chicago PD, he's in stuff. He's an actor, real martial art expert, beast. Yeah, so he's the one that was pushing for it hard and wouldn't stop. And literally, he put me in front of movie producers and everything. And all of a sudden, I'm signing contracts. And then all of a sudden, they're telling me, listen, we're going to fund it. We're going to do this. And now it's in the works. They're really going to make a TV show. It's going to be about the 90s and the 2000s, like a Sopranos. That's the plan.
That's cool. So it's like a modern day mob.
Modern day mob. What went on now? Not about the old school. It's going to be 90s, 2000s.
That's very cool. And you and I met yesterday at the offices of Nicholas Rosenberg, attorney at law.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to use him as my attorney, as my guy.
So we got you squared away with
Yeah,
the entertainment.
absolutely. Yeah.
And it's nice he's a crim guy, God forbid, right, Gene?
Yeah,
But
I like him.
No,
He's
we
great.
don't need him for that.
that's like, yeah, we don't want to use him for that one. We want his
We don't want
entertainment.
to deal with criminal attorneys anymore.
All right.
Now, Gene, I heard you're going to reboot the Johnny and Gene show.
Yes, that is being rebooted. Yes.
Okay. And that's going to be shot in Tampa, Florida?
Both New York or Tampa, but we want to sit together. I like to sit together when I think it looks so much better.
I
You know what
do
mean?
too.
And then we have a new host. So his name's going to be Eric.
What happened to Felix Levine?
He's good, but he's just too busy. He's doing his own thing. And me and Johnny said, you know, he's a young kid. He's 23 years old. I love Felix, and he was a perfect fit. But now we're going to replace him with another guy named Eric, good friend of mine. He did time. He's actually
Okay, so he
in
knows the
Florida
life
with
a
me.
little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, he did a lot of jail time. He was a rough dude. And he's a good talker, and he's going to fill that spot now.
You know, the good news about you two gentlemen is you're playing the game right. You know, you're doing everything right. And Gene, you always wrap your message with John about kids don't follow our path. Listen to what we say, you know, don't follow what we used to do. Right. And that's the positive story here, right, Rouge? I mean, we're helping people.
You know, that's why I got into this. You know, when I first started, it's like, you know, I want to get my story out there. Maybe I could help somebody and help myself along the way, you know. Right. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win for me.
You know, what bugs me out the most is that how many people, like, you think that we have haters? We really don't. We have a small amount of haters. You got to see how much people love us. If I showed you my Instagram DMs, it's thousands of people message me with good stuff. That's the difference. People don't only see these little bad stuff. We have, like, such a big following of people that love us.
Rouge, do you think the love outweighs the hate?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I'm getting DMs from all over the. After Get Gotti, I'm getting DMs from all over the world. I mean, you know, it's crazy what's going on after the show Get Gotti. You know, it was #1 around the world for almost 2 weeks. So I'm getting DMs. I just got a message. I just got a message from Pasquale when we took our little break, and the guy, you're wonderful. What you do for people, the life you live. You know how you work in. I work in the recovery field. So my whole life is about helping people.
And people hate, the people that do hate the fact that people are like, we're winning. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, wow, these guys are being looked upon like great guys. Yeah, we are great guys now. Just what we did in our past, that's our past. We ain't doing it. We're good guys now. That's it.
You know,
get over it.
Right. Listen, everybody, a lot of guys go after Sammy the Bull. He's a friend of mine, right? We talk all the time. I went on his show. Everybody, and his theory is how we get even is to be successful.
Right.
Because the haters are going to hate, and that's the end of it. You know what I mean? And just pay them no mind.
Now think about it. And like you said, Sammy Gavano, he is part of history. His history is so insane. You know, when he talks, you have to listen to him. The guy was part of the fucking most powerfulest family at one time, the underboss, and part of, you know, things that happen in history. You know what I mean? So you can't, what could you really say? All right, he ratted. Okay, but he's part of history.
And Rouge, you were around the fellas. Is it fair to say Sammy Bull was kind of the brains? Gotti was a little rough around the edges?
John was very intelligent too, but Sammy was, Sammy checked all the boxes. He was a gangster, he was a killer, he was an earner, He checked all the boxes. Listen, I know. Listen, I've been in the street. I was in the street a lot of years. I know a lot of wise guys that were brokesters. They couldn't find gold in a gold mine.
Oh, God.
They didn't know how to earn money. Not only so, guys like my old man and Tony Lee and John Gotti and Sammy the Bull, they not only were killers, they knew how to earn money. They knew how to put things together. They knew how to organize things. They knew how to run things. They were intelligent men. They were criminals.
So let me ask you this: a guy who's just not a good earner in the mob, does he just become the de facto play ball mission guy, the crash test dummy that goes out there and handles business?
I mean, other wise guys will look out for them.
They'll give him an earn. They'll give him something
like
to do.
my father at crap games, there was guys in there that he was just giving a pay to because they were wise guys that did work.
At the end, Vinny Asaro couldn't make $1. When at the end of his life, he used to have a ton of money. At the end, he couldn't earn $1. We were all, giving him earns and figuring out. The guy's still Vinny Asaro. We just had to figure out. Nobody wanted to deal with him. You know what I mean? So we had to figure out how to get him to earn. So we give him money here, card games here, give him a piece of the card game, something because he's old and he can't earn no more. And you figure out ways to let him make money. You know what I mean?
And Gene, you're up again, and I asked you this, Rouge. You never put a few fazools in a coffee can and buried it in the backyard. I mean, you just spent the money as fast as you made it.
When you make money like that, you think it's never going to end.
Right.
In the 90s, I was making a lot of money. I was saving money, but it all disappeared when I went to jail. When I went to jail, I had a nest egg, but throughout the 8 years I did, it evaporated. And, I came home, I was broke. When I came home in 2004, I was broke.
And everybody pillaged your books and your...
When I was broke, I had a couple of vending spots that had illegal machines in them, and I was on supervisory, so I sold them to somebody, and I got a couple of thousand for that. So I had a little seed money, and I went to work. I got my first legitimate job at 50 years old.
Yeah.
I was on the verge of getting straightened out. And I mean, eventually, if I would have stood in the street, I would have made money again.
Right. And back on a RICO indictment.
Because it's so funny, because everybody I was going to...
They're all locked up.
They all got pinched. All of them got pinched.
Just take turns. They go from Gambino. Howard Beach is Gambino Bonanno. They take turns. They wipe out the whole Gambino family. Oh, the Bonannos run it. They wipe out the Bonannos. The Gambinos come back. That's
today,
all.
I don't even know how they make money anymore. I have no clue what's going on there. In 2024, I don't know how the mob's making money. The way I made money, I wouldn't have made 10 cents today.
Right.
The way I made money back then.
Yeah, no, Gene, you and I talked about it. You said there's the few guys left are the Genovese, maybe the Lucchese's got a few guys.
You see, here's the thing, and what they're doing is actually smarter now. They actually took the violence and eliminated it.
Right.
Because that's what creates rats. I'm going to be honest with you.
And that creates heat.
Because if you don't have the murders and you don't have the shootings and all the wild shit, you're really only going to get 5-10 years on a loan shark bid or something like that. Like, look at him. He got 10 years. I was looking at 1,000 years because why? I was fucking running around home invasion, shootings, 10 murders. You're going to get fucking an asshole full of time. Then he gets put on the body. Now what's he looking at? A fucking lethal injection if they really want. They don't kill you, but I'm saying when it comes to the violence, it ruins it. It brings all the heat. It brings all the time. Without that, there's no cooperators.
So no one's dropping bodies anymore.
No one's dropping bodies anymore. They won't even order it. They're too scared.
Them days are... Listen,
it's over.
When I was in Detroit, I was living in Michigan. So once a month, I used to have to meet with the FBI. They used to give me money and see how you're doing and ask me some questions and all that. They told me now in Detroit, they have a mob family that for 100 years, the mob has been in Detroit. The FBI told me, you want to hear something funny? I said, yeah, what? They go, the wise guys in Detroit just put out a rule that if anybody owes them sports money, no more violence, just let it go.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, that's true.
So I told them, Ming, I got to get a bookmaker's number and stop betting.
Yeah.
So if you owed a bookmaker in Detroit $10,000 and you told the guy I don't have it, I ain't paying you. The rule was you couldn't even commit an act of violence
because it's a RICO act. When you hit them, it becomes RICO assault.
He's right, Gene. It's no more violence. First of all, who's out there that's going to listen? We were the last of a breed that that would commit an act of violence. I mean, listen, I had a fight with my father because I wanted to kill somebody. My father wanted me to kill a kid that was going out with my sister, and I told him no. He got mad at me.
That was John Burke.
No, Chris.
Didn't they want to kill John Burke too, though?
Yeah, that was over my brother getting
locked up.
For a murder.
No, they were going to kill him too.
Yeah, but then my
Remember those old timers, they all believe in murder. I went to Vinny Asaro for advice, the worst thing I ever did. at Beaverton. He goes, "Oh, just kill him. Yeah, just kill him. All right, yeah. I got to. I'll kill him. All right."
Sure, Vin. I'll get right on that. Yeah.
With that era, when you're born in the 20s and 30s and you're in that life, they handle everything with eliminate you. That's it. That's how they handle it.
And just listen, if once the government knows you committed an act of violence, once they knew that I was involved in my brother-in-law's murder, and they knew I was capable of doing something like that, that's it.
Gotta go.
They haunted me till they got me.
That's it. Unreal. And you'll never know they're watching you. They'll watch you for 5-6 years. You won't have a fucking
They're
clue.
like a dog with a bone. They'll assign one guy to you, and his whole life revolves around putting you in jail.
You will never fucking see them. The only time, and this is a trick the neighborhood knows, when they present themselves to you or give you a card on your door, they're letting you know you are indicted. We're coming to see you. That's the only time you know, and you're like, okay, I'm fucked now.
So we know when that. You get that visit,
I'm on an indictment. I'm on a RICO case. That's it. You know.
Right.
Yep.
Well, Gene, Rouge, thank you so much for your time. It's so cool to sit in front of you two. And Cinemills TV audience, check out Ruggiano's interview we did and Gene Borrello's Reform Gangsters. And
you can check me on my Instagram, Gene Borrello, and my TV show is coming soon.
Beautiful. Love you guys.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.